All right, let's talk about something that could be growing inside your walls right this very second, and I'm talking about mold. If you live somewhere with high humidity, like South Florida, this isn't just some small nuisance. It's a constant battle against a hidden threat you often can't even see. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get into why a place like Florida is basically a perfect hotspot for mold. Then, we'll look at the cool high-tech tools pros use to see the unseen. After that, we'll walk through the whole inspection process. And then, and this is super important, we'll cover the one golden rule you have to know before hiring anyone. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a clear action plan for you. So first up, let's talk about the environment itself. What is it about a place like South Florida that makes it the perfect breeding ground for mold? Well, it really all comes down to one simple key ingredient: moisture. And this, right here, is the question that can keep homeowners up at night. Because, the biggest mold problems, they aren't the little spots you see in the shower. They're the ones that are growing completely out of sight. What's really key to get here is how all these factors kind of team up. I mean, the subtropical climate, that gives you the constant humidity. Then you throw in all the rain, maybe a small roof leak you don't even know about, or an AC that isn't quite pulling enough water out of the air. It all adds up to this perfect, constant supply of water that mold just absolutely loves. And believe me, this isn't just a cosmetic issue. When mold goes unchecked, it can lead to all sorts of persistent allergy-like symptoms. We're talking coughing, headaches, you name it. It's what causes that unmistakable musty smell, and it literally eats away at your drywall and wood. And yeah, it can be a huge red flag when it's time to sell your home. Okay, so if the biggest risk is the mold you can't even see, how in the world are you supposed to find it? Well, that brings us right to our next section: seeing the unseen. Professionals have really turned this into a science. It's not just a simple walkthrough anymore. It's much more like a forensic investigation. And this slide just nails the difference, doesn't it? You might see some discoloration on a wall and think, okay, that's the problem. But a professional inspector, they're looking for the source, that hidden moisture that's trapped inside your walls and feeding the whole issue. They literally need to see through the walls. And they do this with some pretty incredible technology. Thermal cameras can actually see temperature differences behind a wall that scream, hey, there's moisture here. Moisture meters give them a direct reading of how much water is inside your drywall. And if they need to, they can take air and surface samples to send off to a lab, which tells you exactly what kind of mold you're dealing with and just how much of it is floating around in your air. So how does all this cool tech come together in an actual inspection? Well, it's a really clear, data-driven process. It's not just someone's opinion. Let's break down exactly what you can expect, from the moment they arrive to the final report. It all starts with a super thorough visual check of the whole property. From there, the inspector uses their tools to basically create a moisture map of your home, pinpointing all the hidden problem areas. If testing is necessary, samples are taken really carefully and sent off to a certified lab. And then it all comes together in one detailed report, complete with photos, their findings, and of course, the hard scientific data from the lab. And get this, you're not left waiting and wondering for weeks. The results from that lab, they typically come back in just 24 to 48 hours. That way, you can get the facts and make smart decisions fast. Okay, everybody, lean in for this next part. I'm serious. If you only remember one single thing from our time together today, make it this. Understanding this concept is absolutely the key to protecting yourself and making sure you get an honest, unbiased assessment. The term you need to know is conflict of interest. So what is it? Well, in this industry, it's when the company that finds the mold also just happens to be the one that sells the very expensive service to remove it. You can see the problem there, right? It creates a huge incentive to, well, find problems. And this brings us to the two different kinds of companies out there. On one side, you've got businesses that do it all. They inspect and they fix. But that means they have a financial reason to find a big problem. But on the other side, you have inspection-only firms. Their job is simple: inspect, test, and report the facts. That's it. They don't sell the cleanup services, so their findings are totally 100% unbiased. This is the promise of a true inspection-only company. Their loyalty isn't to a big future cleanup job. Their loyalty is to the scientific data. And to you. It's your guarantee that the report you get is based on reality, not on a sales quota. All right, let's bring all this home now with a really practical action plan. How do you know when it's actually time to pick up the phone and call in an independent professional for an assessment? Okay, here are the biggest red flags. If you've got that persistent musty smell you just can't track down, or you see any discoloration, That's a huge sign. If you've had any recent water issues, a leak, a storm, definitely get it checked. Also, listen to your body. If you find your allergy symptoms are way worse at home, that's a clue. And finally, if you're buying a home, especially in a humid place like South Florida, a mold inspection is an absolute must. So, at the end of the day, it all really boils down to this one question. The biggest threats to our home's environment are so often the ones we can't see. An independent inspection is what gives you the real, hard data you need to answer that question and give yourself some true peace of mind.